Okay, there we are. Okay, there. David, everything.
Barod i gychwyn.
Iawn, diolch. Na i ddechrau efo datganiad, sef bod
We'll start with the usual statement. This meeting is being recorded and will be available online. If you're not happy with this, please leave the meeting now. Thank you. Owen, a warm welcome to you all here. Any apologies for absence? Ivor Lloyd has apologised and Councillor Einir Williams. Ivor has a hospital appointment. I won't be at the working group later on, so I'll apologise now. Anyone else?
Yeah, me, please, Elwyn. I'm afraid I've got an appointment at, well, I think it's half 12, so I won't be able to make the working group after the planning committee. Sorry about that.
Okay, thanks, Louise. Anyone else? If not, we'll move on to number 2, declaration of interest. Anyone? If not, on to the minutes. I take it that they're correct. Does anybody propose that they're correct, or are there any matters arising? Second that. We also have a seconder here in the room. Any matters arising, Jonathan? No, I was just saying that Edgar seconded the minutes. Okay, accept the minutes. Show of hands, please, everyone. Thank you. Inspection panel reports. Hello, I'm Alice. I'll be running through this. We have item number 4 with the inspection panel report, first of all. It was stated that the inspection panel was required in the last committee and it was held on the 17th of April. So the first report just summarises what happened during that inspection panel and So this is a summary of the relevant policies. Site is located within the open countryside. Extensions to dwellings within the open countryside are acceptable in principle, provided that they comply with the relevant policies. The relevant policies in this case is Development Policy 1, 6, 15, and also Strategic Policy D. These policies seek to ensure that the nature, location, and siting height, form, and scale of the development is compatible with the capacity and character of the site and the locality within which it is located. Development Policy 15 states that an extension to a house is only allowed if the floor area is more than the original house. It conforms to the authority's design guidance on extensions. It does not detract from the dwelling or the character of the surrounding in which it is located. Then to Strategic Policy D, which seeks to protect the wider biodiversity resources. And the summary of the assessment is, so it was considered that the extensions, by virtue of their design, scale, form, and use of materials, are incongruous and overly dominant features on this modest dwelling, which detract from the character and form of the existing dwelling, as well as its setting. The two-story flat roof's glazed elements are prominent additions to the dwelling which do not blend in with the existing character of the original property, which has a pitched roof with accommodation largely provided within the roof space. In addition to this, the footprint of the original extensions are approximately double that of the original dwelling, significantly increasing the overall footprint. Not enough information has been provided to ensure that the extension does not have a detrimental effect on biodiversity and protected species and their habitats. And the summary of the recommendation, 3 reasons noted. There is a supplementary report that has also been submitted, which summarizes that the ecology information has been submitted since the last committee. The assessment has now been finished, and the ecology officer has said that they need further information before reason number 3 can be resolved. The information that was presented involved bats mostly. So the recommendation remains as is, and it's set out at the end of the supplementary report. Thank you. Going back to the photographs. Okay, thank you, Alice. I will now close the presentation. Elwyn, are you still seeing the photos? What's happening? Okay, who's going to start the discussion? Who wants to speak first? Do we have anybody's hand up? Louise has her hand up. Louise?
Thank you, Chair. So I went to the site visit with an open mind. It's a long way up on quite a torturous track. And when we got there, I have to say I was quite shocked at the scale of the extension, because it's almost, well, it literally overpowers the original dwelling, completely changing the character of that. And I'm not against modern designs per se, but in this particular instance, it's just vast. And the fact that it's retrospective and the applicant didn't have planning permission, rings alarm bells for me. How far would the applicant have gone if this hadn't been brought into the committee, to the notice of the committee? I think is out of character. He's obviously spent a vast amount of money. Well, why not use the National Parks pre-planning service? He would have received advice on scale, the footprint of the building. And I'm afraid I just can't, I can't approve this. I'm going to have to go with the officer's recommendation.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr, Louise.
Okay,
So-
thank you, Louise. Before John comes in, can I just come in on one point that Louise raised? The fact that it's retrospective, that's not a planning consideration.
Okay.
So obviously when you discuss this today, and whatever your conclusion is, you have to discuss it like any
Okay.
other application. The fact that it's retrospective should not affect any discussion or conclusion. And before John comes in, Tim had raised his hand first. So he'll be the next person to speak. Tim, therefore. Thank you, Chair. I think this paper is very clear, and it's clear what the recommendations are. The fact that the inspection panel has gone out hasn't changed anything, and I'm clear that we should go along with the recommendation and refuse this application. So we would propose that is refused. Do we have a seconder for that proposal? Yes, there are 2 people who are seconding that. John? Yes, thanks. We went to see the site. It was very far. We had to have a 4-5 hour to get there. This is a family home. They've modernized an old building, and it's much better for the environment. It retains carbon. I agree with Louise that it's retrospective, but that doesn't come into the consideration. They should have made a planning application before starting on that, and I agree with that 100%. It's so much better for the environment, and it retains carbon, and we have to change our policies so that buildings have to be more sustainable. The design is a personal issue. Some would like this type of design, another person might not. That's a personal opinion. And this is a home for Welsh people who work in the area and also socialize locally as well. I do have a question here. This guide, how old is that? And is it still relevant? Because I am a bit concerned. We have lost one appeal before. Where do we stand on that, if I can have a response to that first of all? It's very old. Yeah, the design guidance is very old. It was here before my time, so it's over 10 years old. There are principles, of course, planning design principles, so they are still current as such with regard to their normal use. The main thing that they state is that the extension should be subservient to the main building so that you can see where the extension is in any development. they'd be smaller. The roof would be a little lower down than the main building. Those are the main principles. The design is old. Design guidance is old, but still relevant. It's going to go to appeal. We have to be sure that the guidance is perfect. That's why I'm asking the question, really. Well, the inspector might see the guidance and think, oh, these are old. That's why I'm asking the question. Anyway, another thing is, how much of the building would have to be removed? I would like to propose an improvement that we defer this whilst officers and the agent have had the meeting on site to see exactly how much should be removed rather than removing the whole of it, just a part of it to be removed. I would like to put forward that improvement. And then another thing that we need to remember, they had the right to demolish this completely. Would this, if they had done that, would that have been given planning permission? That's what we need to consider rather than what's there now. Okay, it's more than the usual size. They could have demolished it and they could have erected a new house on the site. So that's something that needs to come into consideration before we make a decision. So if we defer the decision before, so that officers and the agent will have had a meeting on site to see exactly how much needs to be demolished and come back to see if there's anything that can be done to save some of the house, because it is a home for a Welsh family. We have to remember that. Can I just come in there? I can accept that as an improvement because the proposal is to refuse and refuse today. So if that proposal that has been seconded fails, then we can accept your proposal as a new proposal, but it's not an improvement to the proposal that's already been put forward. So as far as the people who want to talk, I know that Brian has also put his hand up and Meg as well. Just to let you know, Elwyn. Chair, before you open it up to discussion, to come back on a couple of points. You're right in saying that there is a policy that permits for you to demolish a building that's already in existence if the house that replaces is the same footprint and that the design is better. That's not what's been presented to us today. The application has been presented as is, and that's not the route that they've taken in this case. And so we have to deal with the application in front of us with regard to what's been submitted. Okay, thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Chair. All I wanted to say was that I was on the inspection panel, and a little bit like Louise, the dominance of the extension really did strike me. And then when you investigated further, you realise it completely wraps round the old property. So in terms of dominating the original property, to me, it was very clear. It was very dominant and goes therefore against the the guidance and the policy that we have. Thank you.
Diolch yn iawn. Pwy arall oes y siarad?
Thank you. Who else wants to speak? Ewan? Edgar. We have to deal with what's in front of us. And the same as last time. Some have been out to see it. We've had the report. Nothing seems to have worked. And so what's in front of us today? That's why I seconded the refusal. If the applicant wants to discuss something further, it's up to them to pursue the officers, National Park officers, in order to do that. But what we have in front of us is, the proposal is to refuse, and I propose that we do refuse it. Does anybody else want to speak? Naomi.
Iawn, Naomi?
Sorry, it's trio ffeindio'r button. I wanted to ask whether dark skies had been considered, because it looks to me that that property is going to be a beacon of light. and that obviously affects both wildlife and the Dark Skies Reserve. And I believe that we have policy on that in the LDP and in supplementary planning guidance.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Jonathan?
Yes, thank you, Naomi. Jonathan? I'm not sure how much consideration has been given to that. It can be a material planning consideration. I'm not sure how much consideration Alice has given to this in this case. It's not been included in this case because there were main reasons for refusing the application otherwise. But if it was something that would be permitted, then we could put conditions in place in relation to that. But because there were reasons, well, major reasons for refusing the application, does not come into the consideration in this case.
Iawn, diolch Alice.
Okay, thanks, Alice.
Gawn ni'r llun yn ôl, os gwelwch chi dda.
Chi fod yn iawn, dwi'n meddwl. Cadeirydd?
Yndi, ma'n ôl wan. Oes rhywun arall sy'n siarad?
Does anybody else want to speak? I can't see anybody's hand up. Nobody in the room. Okay, the recommendation, or sorry, the proposal is to refuse. Will everybody who's in favour of refusal, show of hands, please.
Iawn, Iwan?
Motion carried.
Oes rhywun yn erbyn gwrthod?
Anybody against the refusal? I just wanted to have a meeting again on site. So, proposal refused. On to number 2, the car parks, the authorities car park, David Thomas. In Dolithris. I'll just share my screen. This is for an advertisement consent to display an information panel for the Taith Mary Jones in the National Parks car park in Talyllyn. This is the location of the site just down the road from the Minffordd Hotel on the A487. Sorry, B4405. These are photos of the site. The stone walls with a slate roof, and there are other advertisements on the building as well. As you can see, information about the actual walk, and this is an application for an advert consent for a display that gives information about the Mary Jones walk. As you can see, there are already adverts here, and the purpose of the application is to replace the information board with a new one with more recent information and to repair the old board. This is the content of the information board. Information about the walk. It's bilingual. There's a map and a bit of history included as well. Strategic policy A promotes information that means that the public understands the special qualities of the national park, and we believe that the advertisement meets this and conforms with this strategic policy, and it improves and that's to the special qualities of the park. Policy 10 is also important. It relates to advertisements and signage, which states that it permits advertisement subject to proposal complying with the criteria. I've mentioned it's a simple proposal that replaces an existing advert where other adverts are already displayed. It is relatively small and it is non-illuminated and it is only visible from the adjacent public car park. It's bilingual. And under these circumstances, it is considered that the impact on the amenity of the area will be minimal. And so it complies with Development Policy 10. As a result, it is considered that the policy is acceptable and the recommendation is that we permit the application with the following conditions, which is to display it for 10 years, removal of the existing adverts, no illumination, and that we get the exact location of the adverts to be approved. Thanks, David. Any proposals? Anybody? Jo has her hand up.
Yeah, completely happy to go with officers' recommendations and propose that this goes through. I can't. It seems odd that it's even come to committee. I know it has to, but it's such a simple thing and educational, and yeah, it's yes, it gets my vote.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Sa rwy'n eilio'r cynnig?
Does anybody second that? I'll second that. Everybody in favour? Unless somebody else wants to talk. On to the next one. Tyn y Llechwedd Park. Conversion of outbuilding to form annex to existing dwelling. We have a speaker in relation to this application. And David is dealing with this application once again. I'll just share my screen once again.
Cais rhif 5
This is number NP 571533D, a conversion of outbuilding to form annex to existing dwelling at Tyn y Llechwedd Park. This is the location of the site. It's at the south of the park and to the northwest of Llyn Tegid in Bala. It's a relatively rural area surrounded by open countryside. This is the location plan that is a bit more detailed in relation to the site to be converted to an annex with a site house on the site. Also another building that has had separate planning permission to be converted into a garage / workshop. These are a few photos of the sites which demonstrate the actual external building that's going to be converted from the side back. The one on the right hand side shows the access that's shared with the main property and the external building also. And the one on the right shows you the distance between the main house and the external building. This is the site plan as is. As you can see, it's being used as a storage and a log store at the moment. It's a single-story building made of stone and roofing sheets. And in comparison, This is the proposed development. It would remain a single-story building, but as you can see, they are proposing a small extension at the back of the building. Besides that, not much is going to be changing in relation to the size of the building. Inside of the building, this is the plan. As you can see, the intention is to share the annex or split the annex into two rooms, one bedroom, one dining room and living room. And the extension there would be for an accessible wet room. As you can see from the elevations here, the intention is that the wall would be of wood and stone, consistent with the original building, but as you can see, the proposal is to put a slate roof on the annex, which is in accordance with the other building on the site, including the main house and the workshop that was also permitted. With the applications like this, the main policy to consider is Development Policy 14, which relates to annexes. And the policy states that developments relating to annex accommodation will be permitted if it is proven to be ancillary to the main dwelling in terms of its scale, usage, and design. And in all cases, permission will be subject to a condition in order to ensure that the annex remains ancillary to the main dwelling. As mentioned in the information pack, the purpose of the development is to use the annex as accommodation for an elderly relation so that they can be close to the house and close to the family. So the close connection has been demonstrated and the applicant has provided evidence and has provided this to the authority, and we're happy that there is a link between the annex and the main house, main dwelling. With regard to the scale of the annex, it's important to note that it's not a new building. There is an existing building on site, and so in relation to the scale of the building, not much changes. It will remain a single-story dwelling. The materials are consistent, but there would be a small extension to the back, at the back of the building, and it would be out of sight of anybody nearby. In terms of the design, as mentioned, the external walls would be mainly of stone and wood, timber. The roof coincides with the main house, and it's considered that the design is sympathetic to its general surroundings, and it would also ensure that there is an accommodation for a member of the family at Tynner Llechwedd. In addition to policy 14, it's also important to consider the SPG 11 annex accommodation. The guidance states that it needs to the criteria in relation to annex accommodation, and it's considered that the applicant has provided enough evidence to prove that the plan falls into these criteria. So, in summary, it is considered that the application conforms with Development Policy 14 and the SPG Guidance 11, and that it also conforms with Development Policy 1 and 6. The applicant uses sustainable materials and that the development is sympathetic to the environment and the dwelling on site. Therefore, on balance, it is recommended that the application is conditionally approved. Okay, thank you.
Oh, it's Tony,
Yeah,
Tony Gibbon,
Yeah.
yeah?
yeah.
That's not just, yeah, if you don't mind, yeah. Thanks. Thanks very much. Thanks very much anyway for time to come and just briefly make a statement. I'm Tony Gervin, the owner of Tynerechwydd, and as a retired chartered surveyor, I felt it was important to come along and put a face to the name of the application. Throughout the sort of application process, we've given the utmost care and respect to the environment in which our home is, and also to the planning policies and the guidance given in putting forward the designs. I collaborated with the planning department through my agent, who I've employed to give local advice, local knowledge and input at every stage to ensure ago, was a fiercely independent individual who's worked all her life to provide a loving and caring home for her family. So this is my opportunity to do the same and actually provide that level of accommodation and close access to the main home to offer that support. In addition, the conversion is modest, 2 rooms, which to meet her needs, with the addition of the wet room, just being outlined by David. But the important thing is it's a single floor level accommodation, providing that access. We've lived in Bala now for 3 years, and the family are actively striving to become integrated into the community, taking small steps, but significantly trying to integrate as we go along, taking Welsh language courses and demonstrating commitment to the community, local culture. Siblings, 1 older brother, 1 younger sister. Unfortunately, neither of those can assist because they both have their own health issues. So the decision by the committee today is fairly important to the family and obviously to the care and the welfare of my mother going forward. So that's my short statement. Thank you for allowing me to say this today, and hopefully it'll receive your support. Thank you. Thank you.
Iawn. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gillen. Any comments or proposals? There's a few hands here.
I have a question, Chair, in relation to the not so much the proposal, which I would fully support, as I think it's been done very sensitively, but it's a question to do with going forward in the future. Obviously, its use at the moment is for a family member and is definitely ancillary, but potentially it could become a small holiday business, which might be looked at differently if it had been applied for as a holiday business. And it's one of the things that's been raised, I think, from the community. There is a condition there. My question is, under that condition number 7, going forward, should Article 4 be fully implemented across the park? Does the ancillary building fall under the Article 4 direction and therefore would have to have planning permission? And therefore, in a sense, Article 4 would strengthen that condition going forward, as opposed to now, where because of that, it could easily slip under the radar.
You want me to come in on this?
Yeah, it's a good question, Ryan.
It's a good question. From my understanding, the current category of use of main house and annex, it'll be a C3 use. So any change to the use, to changing it into a holiday accommodation, will change it to a C5. At the moment, they could do that through the planning permission. But with Article 4, they would need to put in a formal planning application, you know, if Article 4 becomes law in the future. Edgar? That's the whole point of Article 4, isn't it? Amongst other things. I am for this, and I propose that we give it our planning permission. Would anyone like to second that? Elved wants to talk. Your hand's up, Elved. Just exactly what Brian had raised there, and Llanuwchlyn Community Council have raised it as well. It's a new cottage, you know, built from you know, the word annex does worry me a little bit, but it has been presented properly. I'd like to congratulate the proposer for the care they've put into the application. But in Llanuwchlyn, we are looking at the future of the use of the property as a holiday accommodation, which is the same point that Edgar and Ryan have raised there, just to ensure that it remains as a permanent dwelling for a member of the community. That's the only concern that we have. Would anyone else like to speak? If not, we'll go to a vote. Granting the permission? Please show your hands. I think it's unanimous, I should say. Yes, it's carried. Thank you very much. That has been granted. We'll move on to number 3. The car park in Llanuwchlyn. Set up an information panel with the Mary Jones walk. Yes, I'm presenting this. I'll share my screen once again.
NP Society.
So NP 3.5729B is very similar to the first planning application. The consent to display information panel for Taith Mary Jones. It's in the car park in Llanuwchlyn. And here's the location. It's just as you turn into Llanuwchlyn, there's a car park alongside the B4403. Here are a few pictures of the car park and the notice board which is there at the moment. And this is the content of the new sign. Shows some information about the walk and with a map and some extra information about the history, etc. And the intention is to take the present board away and replace it with this new sign, using the same materials in the same location and as it is at the moment, in the same manner as it is at the moment. So it conforms with the strategic policies A and 1, which is that the pack should provide information on the area's cultural heritage. The advert provides information about the area's cultural heritage. And the other policy to be considered is Development Policy 10, which regards advertisements and signs, and states that it permits advertisements which comply with the listed criteria. As I've already mentioned, the proposal is a simple one, just to replace an existing advert located within my Spandy car park. It's also relatively small, and you can't see it from outside the car park. The information is in bilingual format, and under these circumstances, it is considered that it conforms with the Development Policy 10. Because of that, the proposal is considered to be wholly acceptable, and we recommended that the advertisement consent is granted with conditions. Thank you very much. Thank you. Any comments? I'd like if you could stop sharing your screen. Thank you. Thank you very much. Any comments or anyone like to propose anything? I think that Joe's got a hand up. Is it a...
Yeah, completely happy to propose this. We go with officers' recommendations.
Okay, diolch yn fawr.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Anyone like to second that? Can you please show your hands if you're in favour of granting permission? And that's carried. Before we leave this, Mr. Chair, can you please look once again at the signs? There's a sign here, and it has pictures of cows on it. So the next checkpoint, there are Welsh words for the word checkpoint, and another word is that the mountain. They need to put a to bach on the A. It needs to be corrected. There needs an extra N there. I can't see the rest. It's too small. But they need to look at the Welsh text there. Okay. Just wanted to, if you could just let the people who have put the plan application in know so that they can correct that. Thank you. We'll move on now to number 4. Land by Tir Mawr Talsarna. Construction of affordable dwelling, formation of curtilage, extend access track and alteration to existing vehicular access. Aled. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a application to erect an affordable dwelling and extend access track and alterations to existing vehicular access. As you can see from the picture, the site is opposite the development border in Talsarna, and it's close to other houses. Here's the existing agricultural drive, and this needs to be adapted so that it's suitable for vehicles. You can see the house on the hill here. Is at you can see the picture up from the road, and also this is where the site of the house. The trees would remain in place in order to maintain the characteristics of the land. So the house will fit in with the 2 existing properties. Here's the track showing the Tir Mawr track, and there's a proposal to construct a track of 90 meters to go up to the house. It's quite a simple house, single 1.5 stories with 3 bedrooms, and it conforms with the planning considerations. The development policy relevant ones are 1, 6, 11, and 30. So the proposal is a site for affordable housing. It conforms with the requirements which are in the planning proposals with regards to size, and it's no more than 99 metres square as a house. Policy 11, it conforms with that policy. The house will be affordable, and the applicant has agreed to conform to this, to the 106 agreement as well. And the information provided by the applicant for the need has been assessed, and they meet the criteria for affordable housing. So the need has been proven. It is near other properties and it fits in well. The officers did have a few concerns about the access track from the present access, but having discussed and having conducted a site meeting, we come to the opinion it won't have a negligent effect on the environment. So with regards to design and location and the policy requirements, we consider that it conforms with those policies and won't have a negative effect on the landscape. So we recommend that the applicant enters into a 106 agreement and ensures that it is an affordable house. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Edgar has his hand up. Edgar? I welcome this application. It is what we want to do within the park, build more affordable housing. And I propose that we follow the recommendation. It's come to committee since the applicant. Oh, it works for the park. Okay. Yes. I propose that we follow the recommendations. Thank you very much. Would anyone like to second that? Anwen wants to speak, and Dilwyn. I'm very pleased to second this proposal. I'm good. This will ensure that a young local family remain in the area, so I support it 100%. Anyone else like to speak? If not, we'll go to a vote. Everyone in favour of granting permission, please show your hand. It's carried. Okay, great. Thank you. And that's it with the planning applications. We'll move on now to item 6.1. 106 agreement for information. Page 72. 73. Anyone like to raise anything, please say so. 74. There's a hand up here. I think I've asked about page 72. There's quite a few around Harlech. I've asked what's happening with the Tabernacle Chapel. This has been ongoing for a number of years now. We've had it since 2021. That's just when the planning came in. There's a sign on the site now stating that it's for sale. And there are several different stories going around in the town. So I said that I'd raise it today. I'm pleased to say, at last, that the decision will be made public now. We've come to an agreement with the applicant, and the applicant has signed a 106 agreement, and the decision has been drafted already. Also, can I carry on to the next page, 73? Again, in Harlech, the developments adjoining Penarhwylfa, the 20 houses. Things are very slow moving forward. It's been marked out for quite a while, but nothing else. Once again, this decision is ready to be made public. I think they're working in Penrhyn at the moment. So I think they're going to move on to the Harlech sites immediately after that. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Anyone else on 73? If not, we move on to outstanding applications. We're going to 76. Any questions there?
Yes, please, Cadeirydd.
Iawn,
The Sun Beach Holiday Park Llangwirel. There's a lot of concern from the community council and the community about overdevelopment. So what's happening with this application? I've spoken to the officer, but that was a while ago. Any information forthcoming at all?
Sun Beach, yeah?
Sun Beach, yes, Sun Beach Holiday Park. The third,
Diolch yn fawr.
Yn anffodus di'r swyddog achos dim yma heddiw.
Unfortunately, the case officer isn't here today, but I can ask him for an update and I'll ask him to get in touch with you.
yes, please. Thank you very much.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Sa rwy'n arall ers?
Thank you very much. Anyone else on page 76? I'd like to come in on that. There's if a question is asked, can you get back to all of us with the response? Yes, thank you. Page 77. There's a hand up here, Mr. Chair. Bronfedw Uchaf Rhyd Ddu. This has been going on for quite a while though. September 22. Page 77. We're waiting for an appropriate assessment. This is one of those, I don't know what the update is. There's several applications which were caught up with environmental assessments. It was a bit of it was quite a headache for quite a few people. We've taken expert advice and I think it's starting to move now. This has been a national problem. I'm not sure why this has been held back so long. I'm not sure about this application, but the ones that we've got those still to do are those where we've asked for more information so that we can complete the assessments. But like the Sun Beach application, we can give you a direct feedback and we'll feedback in the next meeting.
Chairman,
Mr. Chair.
I wasn't intending to speak today. I can comment on the Bronfedw application directly to you. The appropriate assessment is with Natural Resources Wales to agree, and the decision notice is hopefully nearing completion to be issued if NRW do agree to the appropriate assessment. They've employed enhanced drainage field, which overcomes, hopefully overcomes the phosphate levels into the Afon Gwrfau SAC.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr iawn. Sa rwy'n arall ar
Thank you very much. Would anyone else have anything to raise on page 77? Dilwyn, there's a hand up here. Dilwyn. If I can come in, Mr. Chair. Is there any update on the second down? With Llysmeddig Penmachno? That has now been approved and the decision notice will go out, hopefully, to the applicant. Are there any recommendations attached to that with the parking within the gates? Not to manage the parking inside, but there are measurements that the applicant will have to do before using, in order to make the entrance safer. Okay, thank you. Anyone else on that page? No one here. Okay, that's it. Delegated decisions. Tim's got his hand up here. Just like to ask a question about the first one, the proposed solar park in Plenteg. This is is this the first one, because I can't remember seeing a similar solar development with 275 panels. Just like to know more about the impact, because I've seen them outside the park borders, but out of interest, I'd like to know how it would fit into the landscape and how things have gone with that. I think Richard has got his hand up, so I'm sure
Yeah.
he'll give us an update.
It was one of my applications, Deputy Chairman. The proposed PV panels were entirely within a wooded area. It was an old quarry and lastly a dumping ground for all sorts of machinery and rubbish. So there were environmental benefits there. Again, that was subject to an appropriate assessment, and in visual terms, you cannot see it from anywhere. It's not the best of sites for PV panels because it is surrounded by trees, but it is entirely. I mean, there's 275. Unless you go there, you won't see them at all. There's no landscape implications at all.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak on that? Go to page 80. Any questions? 81, 82, and 83, 84. Dilwyn has got his hand up. Thank you. On the first one, on page 84, I take it that this has with a phone mast in Pemachno. I thought that I see that it's being refused, but there are problems with getting a phone signal. So it is a problem. And I am worried, I'm concerned, what the way forward is if this is refused. I think that Richard has an update for us. I think there are 2 applications from my understanding. Richard he'll regret coming to the meeting.
I was only supposed to listen in today. This one was refused. It was there was no pre-app on this one. It was right at the middle of Pemachno itself. It's quite considerable. We have recently approved, or it's the notice is being prepared at the moment for one at what's called Iwerddon, which is between the village and the A5, which will actually cover the village itself. So this one has actually become superfluous to requirements. The village will be covered fairly soon once the one to Iwerddon is the notice is issued. The one to Iwerddon does cover emergency services and the shared rural network, so it will cover all bases and will be approved very soon.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else on that page? Can I come in now? I'm very pleased that I think that we shouldn't let any it's essential. I'm very pleased that this is going forward, and it's better that we have one good mast than a number of small masts by different companies. So I'm very pleased that that is being approved. Anyone else like to speak? Just like to ask a question if I can. Is there a timetable for this? I know that it hasn't been approved yet, but is there a timeline that they've given you about when they're intending to install the other mast?
I've got no indication of any. I mean, all we can do is approve the application. I know there is great pressure in Pemachno, and the Community Council have been pressing for this one quite considerably. So it'll be down to the operators to install it as soon as possible. we don't have any. I don't have any timeline, unfortunately. Once the decision notice is out.
Os got I pwynt
Can
ychwanegol
I
hynny?
just raise an extra point with that, Chair? Just on John's points, you know, I know that the shared rural network one is an important project. And we've approved almost all of them. There are a few applications that we refused, but most of them have gone through. But one concern that I have, I asked our technician in the office for a list of the applications we have approved, and there are loads of them. 10. I mean, obviously, there's a planning condition on each one that you need to complete it within 5 years. There are quite a few of these masts which haven't been built for some reason, and I don't know what, including the large ones. Some few 40-metre ones. There's one in Cwmpa Machno, up to 25 metres. You know, quite a few have been approved, but so, you know, the industry puts pressure on us to accept them, and we do grant application, but a lot of them aren't built. So I just thought I'd update you on that. Is there one in Spativa? I've got a list of them, of those that we have approved. Okay, thank you. Page 84 and page 85. And that's it. We've come to the end of the planning committee. Oh no, we've got one extra page. I've got one question, Jamie. What's happening with the plaster in Llanfachred? It's gone very quiet there. Nanai? Yes, Nanai. It isn't down at the moment. Is there anything happening there? What's the latest on that? I haven't spoken with Jane about this for a while. We're still trying to find funding sources to look at things. So there's nothing to report it. It's a very expensive project. Just to protect it over a short-term basis. Can we put it on the agenda just in case that we forget about it? It's very easy to forget about these things. If we can put it on the agenda so that we can keep it in mind. The enforcement notice does pop up each year. Just so that we can, it won't be taken off the enforcement notice. You will see the full list each year, and we won't forget about it. We won't forget about it.
Hi,
Thank you.
Excuse me, is it possible that I could maybe jump in relation to the query that's just been made? Seeing as I'm in the meeting, I might as well raise that certainly everything that is still ongoing with Plas-Nanai. We're liaising with CADU at the moment, and we're looking at potentially doing some surveys, just get an idea of the extent of the work that is required there. Obviously, funding that Jonathan has raised is an issue, but we are sort of exploring ways of going forward in terms of making sure that we take the appropriate action that we can. But obviously, that takes time, and we are, as I say, we're liaising with CADU on that, and I'll provide a sort of in our June update for the enforcement update. I will provide a specific update in regards to Nanai itself.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Diolch.
Anybody else like to raise anything on the last page? Before we finish formally. You know, the working group will follow the committee. We'll agree on a break of 10 minutes. So we'll reconvene on a different link, remember, at 11:20. If that's okay. Thank you very much. We'll see you in 10 minutes. I'll throw